is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Weapon Collective. My name's Jeff, once again down in the Gat Cave, and I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. Hope everybody was safe and had a great holiday. Today, we're going to be getting into another gun collection video. After I posted my HK collection, somebody asked to see this one. This is going to be the FN collection. But before we get into it, like I always do, just want to take a moment and thank everybody for tuning in, checking this channel out, getting some good growth lately. We're kind of on a roll. It's awesome. Very much appreciate anyone that has subscribed as of late or ever, and also anybody that's sharing, doing anything, just tuning in. I appreciate it. Let's get into the video. So this is the FN collection. FN is kind of similar to the HK collection if you saw that video. I love FN, super cool guns, but I don't shoot them often. That's partially because lately I've just been on basically my 2011 kick, and shooting mainly 2011s is all. And so these things have been neglected for some time, haven't been taken out of the safe for quite a while. And some of these, like I said, have never even been shot, and some of them, probably like this first one, most likely never will. But let's get into it and take a look. We're going to start out with the FN 503. This is a little micro compact, and it's chambered in 9mm. Interesting little gun here. It does fit the hand pretty good with that extension on the magazine. But it is only at 8 rounds and just a very slim little micro compact, but it does come from FN with a little weapon light built into it, which is kind of cool. I don't know. I love the FDE that FN does. I will say that. 3.1-inch barrel, 8 rounds, just a nice little pocket gun if you had to. That's the FN 503. Next up, we're going to go to the FN Reflex MRD. So that's their red dot system, their optic mounting system, the MRD. And I got this one. It's also a little subcompact. This one has a 3.3-inch barrel, but does hold 15 rounds. So that's nice. More of a likely suspect I would carry. That 503, I don't think I have much practical application for that, honestly. But this I would carry with the red dot. This is a Hollow Sun 507K, and 15 rounds. That meets the criteria basically. But the interesting thing about this gun is, let me show you. It is not a striker fired pistol. This is internal hammer, and you can see right here, if you pull the trigger, that hammer comes up. So that is the firing mechanism right here. It's a hammer. It does have a better trigger, in my opinion, than most of these striker fired guns. So that is the why I picked this thing up. Thought it was interesting. A little non-striker fired EDC alternative, and it just does have a better trigger than, I mean, it's got that take up like most of them, but it's just a crisper, better break. It's more controllable and better trigger than most of those striker fired little EDC guns. Next, we're going to go into the FNS 9C, and this has a 3.6-inch barrel, irons only. And if you guys know anything about me, I do not like my irons. I'm a red dot guy for sure. But it does have a 17-round mag, and that is with this big mag extension. You get a good grip on it because it's got a short, dinky little, Glock 43 frame on there. But with the extension, it's full size almost. Decent trigger for a striker. I've never even shot this gun, but maybe one day. It is interesting. just because it was the basis for the FN 509, which I am a fan of the FN 509. I think it's a great platform. This one was the first FN pistol, FN any weapon I've ever had, and I love it. The kind of Guinness two-tone of the black and tan, I like that. It's a good look. Unfortunately, it is irons only, and I will say that FN probably, people are starting to catch up, but these guys were early with the best red dot mounting systems. Their MRD and just all the plates they give you, the way they mount, much better than like Glock. Their MOS is trash compared to what these guys do. People are catching up, but they have been doing this for years. So this does have 17 rounds and a 4-inch barrel. I have a X300 turbo light on there from Surefire, and other than that, that's the FN 509. Then we get into something like this, which I love, and this is my FN 509. This is the mid-size, so this has 15 rounds, still has the 4-inch barrel, but I sent this gun out to Agency Arms, and they did a Cerakote job. So they did the gray on the slide, did the grip, stippled it. This is my favorite at 509. I love this thing. Got a Trijicon RMR and a Surefire X300 Ultra, and this is just a really nice little pistol when it's combined FN and Agency. And you don't see, or I don't at least, I don't see many Agency FN guns. I see Glock and SIG everywhere, and then less often you see a Smith & Wesson, and then even less often you see an FN, or at least that's my experience. But this is the Agency FN 509 mid. Then next up, we're going into the 509 Compact Tactical. So this is kind of a hodgepodge of a couple of guns that FN makes. It's kind of taken their FN 509, but a compact version plus the tactical. What does that mean? Well, it has a threaded barrel, so that's it. But I did put a Silencer Co. Omega 9 on this, and this is one of the very first guns I ever sent out to have an optic cut and also have Cerakote done. This went to Primary Machine, and I will say, would I do it again? Probably not. But at the time, I dug it. And this one has the EOTech E-Flex on here, which, if you know, not my favorite optic. And then a Surefire XC1, this dinky little light. But it is what it is. 4.32-inch barrel and 15 rounds in this guy. And that is the FN 509 Compact Tactical. Now we're getting into the more fun stuff, like the FN 509 Tactical, which is cool. This thing, FN was just way ahead of the game with the threaded barrels, the optic plates, and that's mainly because it came from military contract. So understandable, but they did a good job with it. And I put a Q Erector 9 suppressor on this, and then it has a Surefire X300 Ultra. Trijicon RMR came with these suppressor height sights and does have 17 round mag capacity, and the tactical is a 4.5-inch barrel. Good gun. And once again, I really love their FDE. It's got great ergonomics, fits fantastic in the hand, and just a cool gun. I will say the trigger is a little squishy for me. There is a better trigger option for the 509 Tactical 509, which I will show you. That's the 509 Tactical and the FDE. And next up, I did get the 509 Tactical in this color variant, kind of the green and bronze. I do have an OSS who is now Huxworks. This is their Rad 9. And this is a really nice suppressor for 9mm and X300 Turbo with Trijicon RMR. Same specs on that 4.5-inch barrel, except this one has the 24 round magazine. So That is fantastic that comes from FN. Another thing they do well, mag capacity, and just looks sick. So this is nice. I like this gun, but this is the FN 509 Tactical in just a different color combo. And then we get into another FN 509 Tactical, but this one I did set up a little differently. So it has that threaded barrel, and I got a comp from Parker Mountain Machine and a magwell from Parker Mountain Machine. So that's nice. If you know me, you know I love ported and comped guns. And this is no different. And just the lines on it with that compensator on there looks so good. Love it. And it's in their FDE with that 24 round magazine, and just a fantastic gun. And the main thing with this is I did put an Apex trigger in it. And I did this a while ago. So up until then, I'd swapped out a bunch of Glock triggers, which is, you can do it with your eyes closed almost. This is a different animal. Probably be a lot easier for me today, but at the time when I did this, it was tough because you got to take little teeny springs and parts apart in this trigger. It's not like just taking that trigger bar out and the whole thing comes out in a Glock. This is a lot more labor intensive, but it is a great trigger. Just a really nice break for a polymer striker fired handgun. So this is that Apex trigger, which does wonders for comparing that gun to this gun. Significant difference. And then with the compensator and the magwell, I'm picking this one every time. If I didn't say, this one has Trijicon RMR and a Surefire X300 Ultra. And that is the 509 Tactical with the Parker Mountain Machine compensator. Then, lastly in the 509s, we're gonna get into the 509 LS Edge. And that LS stands for long slide, which you can see plainly. And it is a 5-inch barrel. I do have a Surefire X300 Turbo and a Trijicon RMR. Got the suppressor height sights. And this one, 17 rounds. This one comes with that Apex trigger. So they caught on over there. Far superior trigger. So this gun I've had for years, never been shot. And now that I have the channel, all that's out the window. I'm gonna shoot every gun I have for the most part. There's a few that aren't getting shot, but this thing will, and I'll do it on the channel, get first impressions, but just haven't up to this point. And that is 509 LS Edge. Okay, so we are officially leaving 9mm and going into 45. So some of you may know what's coming next. That's right, it's gonna be the FNX 45. This thing is sweet. This is definitely an awesome pistol. This came out of the US Joint Combat Pistol Program, and it feels like it. This feels like a military firearm. 45 hammer fired. It has the dead air mask on here, and I got a Surefire X300 Ultra, Trijicon RMR, and just a really great trigger. Love this gun. It's fantastic to run a suppressor on. It does take 15 rounds of 45 ACP, which is a great mag capacity for the caliber. And this gun is one of my favorite FNs. So this is just a badass pistol. It has a 5.3-inch barrel. I always prefer the hammer fired. So this is my 45 of choice from FN. So this is the FNX 45. But after that FNX 45 had been out for a little while, guess what FN did? They went and made a striker fired 45. So this is the FN 545. And it's kind of like they took the FNX in a 509 and made it in 45. I mean, that's what they did basically. So I did put the same mask suppressor on this one, Trijicon RMR Surefire X300 Turbo. I do like how they rounded this mag off, the aesthetic and the ergonomics of it. Also 15 rounds, and you can see the similarity between the 545 and the 509. I mean, it's basically they just bumped this up to 45 ACP, and great gun. Like, I love the 509 platform, so 545. There you go. Did a good job with it. Haven't shot this one nearly as much as the FNX. Does have a 4.7-inch barrel and 15 round mag capacity. That is the FN 545. So at about the same time that the FN released that last gun, the 545, they also came out with the 510, which, if you're following, the 5 is the designation of the striker, and then the 10 is the millimeter. So you have a 510. So it's basically a 509 in 10 mil. I haven't shot a ton of striker fired 10 millimeter handguns. I've done the SIG X10 and I've shot the Glock G20. And then the FN 510. And I would say the 510, the X10, G20 is my rating. This thing is sick. I have this is a Silencer Co. Omega 45. Then I have a Surefire X300 Ultra and Trijicon SRO on this. It does hold 15 rounds of 10 millimeter, has a 4.71 inch barrel. I love that FDE, but every time you switch it up to just the pure black, it's pretty sweet. That is a straight assassin gun right here. This is the FN 510 in 10 millimeter. Okay, leaving that 10 millimeter, we're jumping to the next caliber, which you probably guess what it is because FN made it, but this is the 5.7 from FN. So this is 5.7 by 28. It's like a little rifle round and it holds 20 of them. This gun is so sweet, except let me tell you a little bit about this, because when this came out, there was no optic mounting system for it. So I scoured the internet and I found this company, Dorian Technologies. It's really just like a sleeve that you get the old slide off, and you can slide this polymer sleeve on here that allows you to mount a red dot. Now, I can't speak for longevity of that. I haven't shot this thing a ton, you know, popped a couple rounds off in this. So I don't know how durable that really is, the way it's mounted. It's not ideal by any means, but at the time, it was the only option available until FN came out with the FN 5.7 MRD, which obviously they incorporated the red dot into there, so I was able to put a Trijicon RMR, and I went with the Surefire X300 Turbo. Still has the 20 rounds, and it does have a 4.8-inch barrel. And this round, I said it's like a little rifle round because it is cooking. It was designed to penetrate armor, teeny little projectile moving super fast, and that's how you defeat armor. So it doesn't always work, but that's the idea. And this is a very cool gun, very cool caliber, and FN made it all. So this is the FN 5.7 MRD. And that is going to do it for the handgun portion. And this next gun is one of the more unique firearms that I own. Very cool, but we're sticking with that 5.7 by 28. So you know what it is. It's the PS90. Just a very odd little weapon, but very cool. Interesting. It does shoot that same 5.7 by 28 as I said, and it is a bullpup, so this is a 16-inch barrel. This is actually a rifle, and I put a Holosun 507C on this, and it's interesting. A little high, but that's what you get with this platform. Super unique little gun and everything about it. I have a 30-round magazine, and this is the mag. So very different. And the rounds are all lined up this way, and then they actually rotate and are fed into the gun. It's definitely odd. Seems like a complex system, but it works. And just a unique gun. It's just an interesting little concept. Now, the practicality of it is kind of low on the totem pole of use for me, but it is just one of those guns that you got to have the PS90 in the collection. And that is the FN PS90. Next up, we have the FN M4, the Military Collector Edition. So it's basically just a little replica of the Military M4 supplied by FN, the carbine. And it's a cool one, A2 front sight posts, and it is a 14.5-inch barrel, pinned and welded, so I can't put a can on this. I've never shot this gun, probably never will. This is just a little replica, clone, cool gun for the collection. Accurate. I did throw this Holosun 510C on here just so I can have absolute co-witness with the irons. And not a whole lot to this. It's cool for what it is, but I'm more into give me a rail with some M-lock that I can mount stuff, and this will just look pretty in the collection. But I dig it, and not a whole lot to say about this. It's pretty self-explanatory. So this is the M4 Military Collector Edition from FN. Next one, this is just your basic AR-15. This is one I did get off Gunbroker, and it kind of came as is, and I've just left it because I've never shot this gun. I have other ones that I shoot that you will see, but it's kind of half there. It's the FN, but then this is a Midwest Industries rail, and it does have this Steiner M8XI 1:8 LPVO, and not a whole hell of a lot to say about it. Like even this, you can tell I didn't set this up because it has a flashlight with the clicky cap on the left side of the gun. I put all my lights on the right with the switch if I run a light. And cool gun, but one of those ones that I picked up and then ended up going a different direction. Little side note here. People will go, well, why the hell would you buy a gun and never shoot it? I have a bunch of guns. Every time I go shooting, if I took a new gun, it would take forever to cycle through them. Some of them I purposefully buy not to shoot. Some I haven't got around to it yet. This is one of the haven't got around to it yet. I'm working my way through the hierarchy of guns, and very often I'm going and training, working on specific things, so I take a gun that I shoot often, which means that 1% of guns I shoot 99% of the time. It comes with the territory. That's all I can say. But if you're not a fan of it, then you don't have to do that. That's fine. But that's what's going on over here, and how do I have this thing set up? Or how did it come set up, I should say. Up front, we have the Surefire SOCOM 5.56 Mini, and then we do have a Surefire Scout Light with the clicky cap on the wrong side of the gun for me. I went over the LPVO, B5 buttstock, and basically that's about it. I'll get around to this gun eventually, just haven't done it yet. And that is the FN-15. Next gun is basically the same gun. It's just the one that I set up. So this is the FN-15 with the actual FN rail on it, as you can see. But this one came out a little later, I believe. Has the same war comp from Surefire, so I would throw that SOCOM Mini on this one as well. And then I'm running a comp M5 from Aimpoint on a ScalarWorks Elite mount at 1.93 optical height. Does have a Radian Raptor charging handle. Does have the Magpul bad lever, BCM, vertical foregrip, a regular defense cheek riser on the back, and a Surefire Scout Light with the Surefire SR07 pressure pad, like most of my guns. But nothing too unique or different about this. It's just a sweet one. I have shot this, but not a lot. It is the FN-15. And then the next one, and the last of the FN-15s, the one I consider to be the better looking of the three, is the FDE version of that same gun setup, just a little differently. So this one, you can tell I have the Huxworks Flow 5.56K can set up on there with the Surefire Scout Light with the mod button, and then an EOTech Voodoo 1-8. They now have released a 1-10, which I don't have on this gun. This is a ScalarWorks. It's a 1.42 inch optic height. I like this Voodoo a lot, except for one thing. It has these like kind of digital buttons for function, which I don't like. I much prefer a click or a pull, something more tactile and just, in my opinion, more durable. These little buttons that you press, I don't like them at all. But other than that, I do dig the scope. B5 stock on here, the same rail and Magpul bad lever. But other than that, it really is just your run-of-the-mill AR-15 16-inch barrel. It's a cool gun. This was my favorite of the three, but this is the FN-15 in flat dark earth. Then, of course, you can't talk about FN without talking about the SCAR. So this is the 16S, meaning it's in 5.56, and it's the SCAR. Y'all know it. I don't have a tremendous amount of input on it. It's a fun gun. I like it in 5.56 just because that's what I have the most of and I shoot most often. I have an EOTech EXPS3 on a Unity Fast Riser with the G33 in the Unity flip to center mount. And then this is a Steiner Mark IV weapon light that I'm operating with the mod button. You know, unfortunately, none of my SCARs are the non-reciprocating charging handles. I got them all before that came out. I would like that, but for how often I shoot the SCAR, it's not worth it. So I just live with these, and it does have a Dead Air Sandman K out on the front. I know you're not supposed to suppress a SCAR, or they don't warranty it if anything happens to it. So I did throw one on the 16S, but that's the only one that I have suppressed, not one that I take out all that much. Just the practicality of it. I can do, especially in 5.56, there's guns that are far lighter, far easier to manipulate and work with than the SCAR platform, in my opinion. So it's a fun gun, but it's a badass looking gun too, but not one that is on my like go-to list. But that's the SCAR 16S, 16.5 inch barrel, by the way. Next up, you guessed it, we're going to the 17S. So this is the more traditional looking SCAR, and I did swap out the SCAR rail for this kinetic development rail, which is much better in my humble opinion. I do have a vertical grip on this, and then just has a 10-round magazine. You know, I ran into an issue when I was putting this together. I couldn't find my SCAR mags except these little 10-rounders. So I had to order some 20s. They're floating around here somewhere, but that is one significant problem when you have a large gun collection, is magazine management. They're all shoved in boxes and they're all over the place. It's a pain in the butt. I need a better system. If you have a system out there, let me know. So this does have a Night Force Attacker 1-8 and looks really good with this and works. This is chambered in 308. You got the UGG boot buttstock on the back that obviously folds. Cool platform, but these things are rough on optics. That bolt carrier moving forward can really trash an optic. Luckily, haven't had that happen to me yet, but this is the SCAR 17S. Okay, and lastly, you know what it is. It's the SCAR 20S. So this is the SCAR Heavy. This thing is a beast, and I've shot it a total of one day. It's hardly been out of my house. But it is a very cool gun. You can just do your curls with it if you wanted to, but it is chambered in .308. I got this thing, I believe, before they came out with the 6.5 Creedmoor version, which I'd rather have, but it is what it is. I do have this awesome scope on here. So this is a Night Force 5-25 with, in a Badger Ordnance Condition 1 scope mount, and then I have an Aimpoint RDS 45 on the side, just further adding to the weight of this thing, which is why I had to throw this AccuTac bipod on here, because I'm not shooting this thing other than prone for the most part. I mean, you could get a couple shots standing with this, but not something you're gonna wanna take to the range and do up drills with all day. But very cool gun. It's a lot of fun. Just the amount of long range shooting I do is limited. I definitely want to get more into it. I need to. It's just finding the time to do all of this. Shooting is a vast, vast world. And there's so many branches off that tree, and I get sucked into the one. You know, typically I shoot handguns and the shorter carbines on flat range and doing tactical stuff. This, the long range, I love to get into it. I've taken one course in my life, but still, just finding the time to carve out to dedicate to that is rough. This is a fun gun. It's got a 20-inch barrel, and I think that, I mean, I didn't do much to it. I dropped a scope on it and put a bipod, and you're pretty much done. But that is the SCAR 20S in .308. Okay, so that is my FN collection. Like I said, I don't shoot the FNs nearly as much as I shoot some other stuff. Similar to the HK, it's like I love the product. I love to collect it, get it, and not that I don't want to shoot it or won't. It's just that working my way through all these things, I get kind of like tunnel vision on one little area, and I stick with that. Started with polymer striker fired guns, shooting those Glocks and SIGs forever. And then I got into the 2011s and just building carbines and running those. Just a lot of guns I got to get through. But FN is awesome. But they do have some stupid stuff. Like if you put a can on a SCAR, you're not going to get a warranty. What's up with that? Weird little quirks. I hope you enjoyed that. I am going to have some more range footage up before long, and then in January there should be a very cool little series. And that is it. Please comment, like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. I'm Jeff for the Weapon Collective, reminding you, keep your weapons collected and keep collecting your weapons. I'll catch you next time.